Red Dead Redemption 2 delivers a deeply layered story with intricate characters, many of whom reveal hidden complexities upon closer inspection. One such character is Hosea Matthews, Dutch's closest confidant and a co-founder of the gang. A man of wisdom, compassion, and experience, Hosea plays a crucial role of grounding the gang amidst chaos. However, throughout the game, subtle details reveal that Hosea is suffering from an illness, one that adds layers of tragedy to his character and mirrors the game's gradual unraveling, much like the story of Arthur Morgan. While the specifics of his condition remain semi-unknown and heavily unnoticed by many players on their first playthrough, his illness profoundly impacts the story, his relationships, and the game's trajectory. So today, we will take a look at when this all started, how the illness slowly consumed Hosea's character, and what exactly he was suffering from. Hints of Hosea's illness appear as early as Chapter 1, though they are understated enough to be easily missed. During the ride from Colter, while helping Arthur and Charles fix a wagon wheel, Arthur jests, "Still strong enough to hold up a wagon?"
I reckon we can handle it. All right, Charles, you and me hold the thing up while you try and put the wheel back on, Arthur.
You still strong enough to hold up a wagon?
Shut up.
Hosea's reaction is more defensive than humorous, as if he's aware of his declining strength and doesn't appreciate the comment. His sharp response suggests that his physical limitations are a sensitive topic. However, given the playful nature of the comment from Arthur, this interaction is mostly looked over as a joke, which is shortly overshadowed by a more important moment and quickly forgotten about. However, given Arthur's tone of voice,
You still strong enough to hold up a wagon?
it is possible that he was questioning Hosea's strength out of genuine concern. Later, during their ride down the mountains, Hosea is seen crafting herbal medicine and casually remarks that he can do it with his eyes closed.
What are you working on there, anyway?
Just some yarrow and ginseng. Good for the health. Better than that stuff you buy in the store. Yeah, you can have all this. I'm at the point where I can do it with my eyes closed.
Implying he is needed to make such remedies frequently, hinting at Hosea's reliance on natural medicine to manage his symptoms, and this one subtly informs the player that Hosea's health issues are an ongoing concern. Upon reaching Horseshoe Overlook, Hosea reveals more about his condition when he says to Dutch, "I guess I'm just worried I ain't got that long."
We have all made mistakes over the years, Hosea. Every last one of us. But I kept us together. Kept us alive. Kept the nooses off our neck.
I guess I'm just worried. I ain't got that long, Dutch. I want folks safe before I go.
Me too.
While this could be dismissed as an older man lamenting his mortality, Hosea's age is not particularly advanced for the time. His statement feels more like a man grappling with an illness rather than just the natural decline of age. While many players might initially write off Hosea's remarks and actions as the musings of an aging man aware of his mortality, the context and delivery suggest a deeper significance. Rockstar Games is renowned for embedding layers of meaning in its dialogue and character interactions, and Hosea's early game comments are no exception. His crafting of herbal medicine, for instance, could easily be dismissed as a mechanical tutorial for players. However, the decision to have Hosea, not another character, introduce this concept carries weight. This deliberate choice subtly ties the gameplay mechanic to Hosea's character and foreshadows the broader narrative themes of mortality and resilience. Moreover, the inclusion of dialogue like, "I guess I'm just worried I ain't got that long," so early in the story feels intentional, planting seeds of foreshadowing for players to reflect on as the narrative unfolds. Rockstar's approach to storytelling rarely leaves such details without purpose. These lines, combined with Hosea's actions, literally all in that same mission, hint at a hidden vulnerability beneath his outward composure and wisdom. Rather than being the throwaway comments of a man grappling with age, they point to a character battling a quiet, persistent struggle, a struggle that mirrors the larger decline of the gang and serves as a subtle counterpoint to the more overt themes of violence and ambition in the game. For those willing to look deeper, these moments offer an early glimpse into the complexity of Hosea's character and his role in the story. Later in the same chapter of Horseshoe Overlook, Hosea's declining health becomes more apparent through his interactions at camp. He is often seen coughing, wheezing, or struggling with his condition.
How you doing, my dear friend?
about how I look.
Then, not so well's my guess.
And mine.
I'm sorry, Hosea.
Why?
For selfish reasons, you... Well, you've been like a father to me. You helped me so much. Not just with the reading, but with the living.
You'll be fine. You always have been.
I hope so.
Oh, trust me. Jack's gonna be fine, you'll be fine. If we can only get old John to see a little sense, we might be able to make a proper family of you yet.
We both know that ain't gonna happen.
You never know.
So, what about your family?
My family, well, you know, they all died long ago. Guess I'm kind of getting ready to be reunited. Only, I fear my dear Bessie went to heaven while I'll be heading south. Isn't that so, Arthur?
I reckon all of us is heading that way.
At least we won't be lonely.
Away with the pair of you.
You ain't going nowhere yet, old friend.
Well, I'm ready.
Okay, well, let's talk more later. You okay, old man?
Sure. Just dandy, partner, just dandy.
You sure you're okay?
I'm fine.
Well...
Mind if I sit? Listen, I know I ain't well, but don't pity me. Envy me. I've done all a man could want. My grandfather farmed turnips in some bog in Lincolnshire. In Lincolnshire, which I'm told is in England, famous for turnips. I've never had to eat a turnip in my life. I'm a product of this country. Fine evening, eh, boys? Fine evening. Glad to be out of that cold and sat here. Wonder how many more evenings like this I'll have. Anyone know? Come on, don't be shy. Don't be embarrassed. I'm not going to see much more in another couple of years. Maybe 5.
Mr. Morgan.
Hey, can I get you anything, Hosea?
How kind you, son. No, I'm fine.
Well, I heard you coughing a lot last night.
Yes. That cold air. It's not helped my lungs. Well, I'll be dead, but before that, I'll be fine again.
Conversations with gang members reflect their growing concern, though Hosea frequently deflects their sympathy with humor and stoicism. For example, he tells Arthur, "Don't pity me, envy me. I've done all a man could want," emphasizing his acceptance of his mortality while downplaying his struggles. Hosea's declining condition draws concern from many, who often check on him when he appears unwell. Abigail openly shares his sadness over his state, while Lenny regularly shows care for Hosea, worried about the toll his illness is taking. Despite his outward attempts to appear unfazed, Hosea speaks candidly about his limited time, fully aware of the reality he faces. He advises John to take Abigail and Jack, and leave the gang while they still can.
Listen, John. Far be it from me for interfering in your business. But the boy is your business.
I know, but...
No. No buts. Dutch's bluster aside, he's right on this. But I would go a step further. I would say she get the hell away from here.
We both know that ain't happening.
A sentiment later echoed by Arthur when he faces his own terminal illness. Hosea also reflects on his morality, expressing doubts about his place in the afterlife, believing that his late wife Bessie may be in heaven, but he likely won't join her. These moments are not met with shock by the gang, who seem to accept them as part of who Hosea has become, quietly acknowledging the inevitability of his fate. At this point, it is hard to write off any of Hosea's symptoms or actions as a result of just being old. It is clear even by the Horseshoe Overlook chapter that Hosea is sick. The game doesn't even try to hide it, with characters coming up to him and blatantly asking him if he feels better. And Hosea himself inferring multiple times that he is going to die soon. However, while the game doesn't hide his illness, it is weirdly unspoken. It is never directly addressed in the story, nor does it become a focal point in the plot. There are no missions where his illness impacts the gang's plans or his own actions, and it is not even mentioned what he is specifically suffering from. Instead, the game leaves subtle hints through his actions and remarks, allowing observant players to piece together the reality of his declining health. This understated approach mirrors Hosea's own stoic demeanor, quietly weaving his illness into the narrative, without making it a defining element of his character or his role in the gang. The closest we get to his illness affecting him or the actual story is, again, later in the same chapter. When Hosea insists on accompanying Arthur to hunt a legendary grizzly, a pursuit that feels unnecessary from a practical standpoint, but seems deeply significant for Hosea personally. Despite his illness, Hosea seems determined to prove, to both Arthur and himself, that he can still handle the challenges of the wilderness. This determination seems emblematic of Hosea's character. The hunt initially proceeds smoothly, with Hosea demonstrating his skill and experience, but when the grizzly appears, the encounter quickly becomes overwhelming for Hosea. After the bear is driven off by Arthur, Hosea admits, "I'm a little old and beaten up to be after the biggest game."
You're fine, old man.
Of course I'm fine. It's nothing. Nothing at all.
Thank you, I think. That was fun.
You know what, Arthur Morgan? I'm a little old and beaten up to be after the biggest game.
Signaling a bittersweet moment of realization for the seasoned outlaw. However, it again seems like there is so much more here that goes unsaid. When Arthur first asks Hosea if he is okay, he seems to hesitate, like he is almost going to say something before stopping himself.
You're fine, old man.
Of course I'm fine. It's nothing.
Furthermore, Hosea knows he's likely too old to be hunting grizzly bears, a risky endeavor even under ideal circumstances, and he openly cites his age as a limitation. However, something motivates him to try, as if he needs to prove to himself that he's still capable of taking on the biggest challenges. While the hunt has no bearing on the gang or the larger narrative, it seems deeply personal for Hosea, as if he proved to himself that his illness does not define him. Hosea's illness foreshadows Arthur's own struggle with tuberculosis later in the game. Both men grapple with the knowledge of their impending deaths, but their responses differ in key ways. Hosea accepts his fate with quiet resignation, focusing on the well-being of others. Arthur, spurred by Hosea's example, uses his diagnosis as motivation to change, seeking redemption for an outlaw lifestyle. Hosea's death at the hands of Agent Milton in Chapter 4 is a tragic culmination of his arc. Unlike Arthur, whose death is a personal redemption, Hosea's end feels abrupt and unjust, a stark reminder of the brutal world the gang inhabits. Yet, his wisdom and quiet dignity leave a lasting impression on Arthur, influencing his ultimate decisions. While his illness is never explicitly named in the game, several plausible theories emerge. Based on the subtle clues presented in the game, his frequent coughing, fatigue, and references to feeling worn out point to a chronic respiratory condition. Many players suggest tuberculosis is a strong possibility, as it was a common and deadly disease in the late 19th century. However, given Arthur Morgan's eventual diagnosis of TB, I think it would be far-fetched to assume Hosea suffered from the same affliction. Unlike Arthur, Hosea's symptoms appear less severe and more prolonged, which could suggest an earlier stage of the disease. However, the chances it is a different lung-related condition are significantly higher. Hosea more likely suffers from either bronchitis emphysema or lung cancer, potentially caused by years of exposure to smoking in harsh environments. Another plausible explanation for Hosea's illness could be a condition like chronic obstructive pulmonary disease or even a collapsed lung resulting from previous injury. As a lifelong outlaw involved in dangerous heists and confrontations, it's possible Hosea sustained chest trauma in the past, leading to chronic respiratory issues. A collapsed lung or scarring from a failed heist or injury could explain his persistent coughing and shortness of breath, particularly if medical treatment was limited or unavailable. COPD, on the other hand, might have developed over years of exposure to campfire smoke, gunpowder, and harsh environmental conditions, all of which were part of his rugged lifestyle. Another possibility is that Hosea's illness stems from a more systemic issue, such as heart disease or cancer, both of which could explain his persistent weakness and shortness of breath. His reliance on herbal remedies, while practical in the context of the game, also suggests he might have been managing ongoing pain or discomfort. These theories add a layer of realism to his struggles, emphasizing how a lifetime of hardship and physical risks could leave even the sharpest minds with lasting physical vulnerabilities. The ambiguity of Hosea's illness serves to deepen the tragedy of his character, as players are left to speculate about the toll his health took on his role in the gang and the life he had lived. By leaving his ailment unnamed, Rockstar allows Hosea's decline to remain symbolic, representing the fragility of human life and the inevitable consequences of a hard-lived existence.